luxury travel docks here in Fredericksburg, Texas, at the National Museum of the Pacific War with our national treasure, Mr. Fred Harvey, and Brandon Vinyard, Director of Marketing at the museum. We wanted to get a little bit of history behind the museum. Can you give us a little history behind the museum?
Yeah, so the museum, it's been here for almost 51 years now. It started in Admiral Nimitz's grandfather's hotel right there on Main Street. Admiral Nimitz spent the first couple years of his life here before they moved to Kerrville. In the mid-60s, businessmen wanted to open a museum in honor of Admiral Nimitz. He originally said no. He didn't want that. I think they just kept knocking on his door, and finally he said, you can use my name, but make it about the men and women who served under me, not about me. So this museum now is 6 acres, over 55,000 square feet of exhibit space. We focus on telling the human story of World War II Pacific and honoring gentlemen like Fred Harvey here and helping tell their stories to the public.
How many World War II veterans still come to the museum, or do you have any events around them? Or?
We get quite a few. They don't come as often as Fred Harvey does, but we get quite a few in. Of course, every year that number drops substantially every year. It's kind of sad to see, but we still get them coming in, trickling in. Sometimes we get a heads up that they're coming. They want to come do an oral history with our oral history program, or a lot of times they just want to come in and enjoy the museum and not be bothered and enjoy it.
One of the unique features of this that I got to spend some time with Fred last year is the outdoor theater and museum. Can you give us a little discussion about that and explain that to us?
Yeah, so one of the things that's unique about this museum is we do our World War II Pacific Combat Program, and it's a living history program that we do about 7 weekends a year, usually 3 to 4 shows a weekend. And really what that does is that helps bring history to life. So we don't do it to glorify war, but we do it to help kind of bring just a little piece of that, what gentlemen like Fred Harvey went through with the battles. So when people walk away, we want them to walk away with just that little sense of, that was intense. I can't believe I felt the heat from that flamethrower. I can't imagine what that was like in World War II with real bullets flying, with real enemy, and what that experience was like. So really, it's a great experience. We talk about the weapons and equipment used by both Japanese and Americans. Again, we don't do it to glorify war. We just want to do it to bring history to life so people can see the helmets, the weapons, the equipment in action, how they were used. And of course, the flamethrower shoot at the very end. The only weapon we use that does not shoot blanks, and you can feel the heat all the way in the stage. So it's a really unique place. We're about the only museum we know of that's doing it on that regular basis and that big of a program.
Yeah, I was amazed the authentic weapons and how they keep things as authentic as possible, and ask the advice of veterans like Fred in the reenactment to make it authentic. It was really amazing.
Fred's input's been crucial in how we've developed that program and molded how the battle goes and how our soldiers move and everything. Fred's talked with Jeff Copsetta, our living history director, a lot about things that need to be changed, things that aren't accurate, and we've made those changes. I mean, when it comes from the horse's mouth, you can't argue it, so you attack it and fix it.
Fred, tell us a little bit about what the museum means to you.
Well, it means a lot to me because when I come over here, and I not only remember the equipment and all that, I remember the Marines that I served with, the Marines that didn't make it back, and the Marines that came back torn up. And I don't want to forget those guys. I can talk about the war, and I'm going to talk about it as much as I can because I want the people to remember those buddies of mine that paid with their lives for the life that we have here in the U.S. today.
Tell us a little bit about the association with President George Herbert Walker Bush and his affiliation in the building we're standing in.
Yeah, so this is the George H.W. Bush Gallery, and it is that because George H.W. Bush gave a large endowment to help this museum. He's been involved with it for many, many years, and of course we were sad to hear of his passing, and we held a nice program for him. I can't remember the last time he was here. It was probably in the late 90s, I think. Oh, well, no, it was 2009. He came whenever we reopened this, December 7, 2009. Him and Barbara came down to help cut the ribbon and see the changes that we have made.
And he's actually one of the exhibits is a section about his shoot down.
Yeah, people I think expect to see more on him. They're kind of shocked when all it is one panel and a section of his life jacket or his life raft. But that's what he wanted. He didn't want a big display. He didn't want to be bragged on. It was just that small little panel right around the corner from here has a little life vest that was signed by people and some information about his service.
Can you tell us also a little bit about General Hagee's affiliation with the museum and how he's connected the former Commandant of the Marine Corps?
Yeah, so he's the president and CEO of the Admiral Nimitz Foundation. The Admiral Nimitz Foundation operates and raises funds for the National Museum of the Pacific War, which is a Texas Historical Commission property. So he's been on board since 2008. He's been a great CEO. I think he's been able to take us to areas that we probably wouldn't have been able to reach without him. He's great at raising funds. He's a great guy to work with, and I don't think you'd be hard pressed to find a CEO who cares as much as he does about the veterans and sharing the stories. I think with his military experience, it just comes naturally. He's a great leader, and again, he's another one of those hometown heroes. He was raised here in Fredericksburg. Admiral Nimitz was raised here in Fredericksburg, so it's a small town in the middle of nowhere that raised two great military leaders for this country.
Well, as we like to say, make meaningful travel happen. I don't think it can get more meaningful than this. This museum is a true gem, along with national treasures like Fred here. If you're fortunate enough to come on one of the weekends that the performances are going on at the pavilion, Fred is usually here, so go look for him and also look for his book, but more importantly, look for his stories. We thank you, and I highly recommend coming here for a visit. It's truly a treasure.